Dr. Edward Jenner, Dr. Frank Fenner, Dr. D.A. Henderson, and Lady Montagu are just some of the extraordinary figures who helped create the vaccine. Common practice, yet has saved the world countless times. And even though it does not require much skill, it has been a turning point in health history. Smallpox, otherwise known as variola, is in the orthopoxvirus family. Vertebrates, including mammals and humans, are the main attractions. There are two forms of smallpox, variola major and variola minor. Variola major was the more common of the two and had an increased fatality rate of 30%, while variola minor had a survival rate of about 99%. Smallpox's most memorable condition was the raised red bumps that it left. These pustules were said to be painfully unbearable. Similarly, the disease called cowpox ended up being the cure for smallpox and the answer for the vaccine. Cowpox is a mild infection of cows transmitted to humans and is said to be much more bearable than smallpox. However, before humans were able to put this puzzle together, the world was struggling, as smallpox was the cause of every 1 of 13 worldwide deaths. And because of this, very few people thought it would be possible to make it towards a brighter future. And it was the people, doctors, and scientists like Dr. Edward Jenner who changed the medical world and what we know about health forever. Without these pioneers and unstoppable collaborations like the World Health Organization, we would not have been able to eradicate smallpox, and billions of lives would have been lost. However, thanks to the incredible perseverance of individuals and groups, we've been able to grow past current global issues like COVID-19 and more. There have been many different kinds of immunizations to protect people from smallpox. Treating their patients by not allowing fire in the room, leaving the windows open, laying the bed sheets no higher than the patient's waist, and even administering 12 bottles of small beer every 24 hours were all very common practices in medieval times. As you can imagine, this did not work since there was no science to back it up. However, amid all this chaos and superstition, there were those unlikely individuals who made a difference in the 18th and 19th centuries. Lady Mary Wortley Montagu was one of the first people to start successfully inoculating people by discovering what they did in Turkey to immunize themselves and bringing that idea back to the United Kingdom. Inoculation then turned into an actual medicine practice, and although it wasn't perfect, without it, Dr. Jenner may have never been able to create his vaccine. However, even with these revolutionary insights, time was starting to run out worldwide. When Dr. Jenner discovered that milkmaids with cowpox were immune to smallpox, the world could stop worrying. To test Dr. Jenner's theory, he used his gardener's 8-year-old boy, and after vaccinating him, James Phipps never contracted smallpox. It was then that Dr. Jenner discovered that he had created the world's first successful vaccine in 1796. Dr. Jenner then went on to publish an inquiry on this subject called An Inquiry into the Causes and Effects of the Variola Vaccine. This inquiry discussed Dr. Jenner's findings while making the vaccine, how it was made, the experimental process, and his overall discoveries. The vaccine is made purely from the live version of cowpox, and after about 5 to 7 days following the vaccination, the patient will be released from isolation. 95% of the people who received this vaccine never contracted smallpox again. Common symptoms of the vaccine include all those of the common cold. After about a century of the original vaccine, improvements were made. The vaccine then used a new kind of needle called a bifurcated needle, famous for having 2 tips while also being safer and more cost-effective. Then, new serums were created like the ACAM 2000 vaccine, which is a pure freeze-dried version.
So what have we done? We've developed 2 safe and effective vaccines now for use, authorized for use to the American people.
Dr. Jenner tried to spread his vaccine across the world, but many organizations like the Royal Society in Britain thought that it was in variance with established knowledge. The Royal Society then advised Dr. Jenner that if he cared about his reputation, he would not promulgate such wild ideas. In response, the world as a whole pitched in to spread the vaccine, and it kicked off with the Balmus Salvini smallpox expedition, led by physicians Francisco Xavier Balmus Berniguer and Josie Salvini in 1804. This expedition took the smallpox vaccine to Spain's territories in the Americas and Far East. Similarly, Dr. John Clinch and Drs. Abdiel Boylston and Dr. Benjamin Waterhouse were very beneficial in spreading the vaccine, since without them, America might have been doomed. Dr. Clinch is credited with being the person who introduced the vaccine into North America, starting with Trinity, Newfoundland. Dr. Waterhouse is credited with introducing it to America in general, and Dr. Boylston introduced smallpox inoculation into the 13 colonies before Dr. Jenner's vaccine. After this, mandatory smallpox vaccinations came into effect in Britain and parts of the US in the 1840s and 50s. This then led to the establishment of requiring that passengers have vaccination certificates required for travel.
And we have administered over 2 million doses in the last 2 weeks. Really a remarkable feat, and everybody collectively should be very proud.
However, without the World Health Organization, formed in 1948, this would not have been possible. The WHO's mission was to keep all the world safe through the collaborative efforts of all the world's nations. In 1967, the WHO came up with the Intensified Eradication Program. This new program works very well and successfully vaccinated 80% of the world. This could not have been possible without the work of Dr. Frank Fenner and Dr. Donald A. Henderson. Dr. Frank Fenner was the director of the International Commission for Certification of Eradication, and Dr. Donald A. Henderson was the leading director and president of the WHO from 1966 to 1977. Dr. Henderson was responsible for initiating the WHO's Global Immunization Program in 1974, which under his control eradicated smallpox. On May 8, 1980, the world experienced one of the most significant days in human history. The World Health Assembly announced that the world and all its people have won freedom from smallpox, which was the most devastating disease, sweeping in epidemic form throughout many countries since its earliest times, leaving death, blindness, and disfigurement in its wake.
By 1972, the risk of smallpox was so remote that routine vaccinations were discontinued in the United States. In 1980, the World Health Organization declared that smallpox had been completely eradicated. And since then, there has not been a single natural case of the disease anywhere in the world.
As of today, the World Health Organization has helped over 3 billion people get the safety they deserve. This global health could not have been achieved without the making of the smallpox vaccine, since it opened people's minds and caused them to realize that 100% safety was attainable. For his accomplishments in the field of medicine, the British government awarded Dr. Edward Jenner €30,000. Then, in 1896, the Royal Society of Medicine made the Edward Jenner Medal to commemorate his outstanding work in the field of epidemiological research. Thanks to him, we now have mass vaccination campaigns, ring vaccination, and a worldwide case surveillance system. Because Dr. Jenner's vaccine was the first successful vaccine, it is remarkable how successful it was. Only 2 to 3% of people who took the vaccine had harmful side effects. Vaccines today are similar to vaccine that Dr. Edward Jenner created to eradicate smallpox. They both consist of introducing an antigen into the body. However, vaccines today consist of a more controlled and safe version of the disease. I believe that the important longer-term contribution of smallpox eradication to world health was this demonstration of how much can be accomplished with how little control it may seem. Vaccines continue to play an essential role in controlling infectious diseases, and Dr. Jenner's work remains an inspiration for researchers and public health practitioners all across the globe. The recent COVID-19 pandemic serves as a reminder of the importance of vaccination. However, the impact of Dr. Jenner's work extends far beyond medicine. It serves as a testament to the power of human ingenuity, brilliance, and perseverance. Without this accomplishment, we would be lost. Without these people, we would be gone. And it was the people like Dr. Edward Jenner who gave the world a little light to spread, so that now we can look back and realize that it was because of this accomplishment we had so little darkness. There was a lot of much-needed information on the world's first vaccine that made this documentary possible. Sources like the National Library of Medicine, the CDC, the World Health Organization, the Library of Congress, the Jenner Institute, Dr. Jenner's inquiry, and lastly, the book written by D.A. Henderson himself, Smallpox, the Death of a Disease, made this documentary possible.